You can't spell quarantine without Q&A. I've never watched like Game of Thrones. Oh, he's lazy, lack of effort. I mean, how would people know? How could you possibly know what goes on behind the closed doors? Myself and Angelina are here because we've got a Q&A for Friday, and you can't spell quarantine without Q&A. This is what I've realised.
Very true.
This is what I've been thinking about in the last 8 weeks. Right, let's get on with this Q&A. If Mbappe stays in PSG for his whole career and wins everything in France, which he already has done, that's my little insert, can he still be best? Could he still be best at his time? Maybe the best of his time, yeah. Or he needs to go to a better league to prove himself. Anyways, love from Bangladesh. Thank you, Afiq.
You know what? This is an interesting one because you think if he spends his whole career with PSG, is he still classed as successful? I mean, you look at, certain players that have pretty much stayed at one club, Messi, Müller, even like, Maldini back in the day. Obviously, over in the Premier League, you got the likes of Carragher, Gerrard minus that trip to LA, Scholes, Neville, so players can still be considered successful nowadays, maybe, because you're still going to consider Messi as successful, and he's, let's face it, he's more than likely just going to stay at Barcelona. I can't see him making some mad move over to Italy or Real Madrid or something ridiculous like that. I think the French league is so predictable. That's maybe where it comes into it, and you think maybe he won't be as successful. And what do you want as a player? Like, do you want to be able to, maybe be more like a Ronaldo that can go to other leagues and prove that they're still as good? Or are you happy staying with one team, being loyal, working with them to win things, helping the club? I think it depends on personal perspective and what you want. But I think if he stayed and if he helped them win the Champions League a couple of times, I think he'd still be considered successful.
Part of me, firstly, is it's no fault of their own, but every single player is going to be held to the Messi Ronaldo standard.
Yeah.
You're either going to be held to the amount of goals that Messi scores, right, and the amount of years you spend with the same club, or you're going to be held to the amount of titles that Ronaldo wins, as well as, you don't have to be, to win Serie A, La Liga and the Premier League to be better than Ronaldo. But who knows? Maybe that's going to be the future. I think the other thing to point out as well in this is that Mbappe, firstly, it's not his fault he's playing in a poor league, but the league's strength goes in swings and roundabouts. When Ronaldo was at Manchester United, the English league was the best. The English league arguably had the best players. Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea were in Champions League finals for fun, along with Barcelona. You would say that, certainly on the European stage, Barcelona were, in the early Guardiola era, better than Real Madrid, you'd say. There was also a big Italian influence in the noughties, especially with AC Milan reaching, I think, was it 4 finals maybe? So I think when people say, he's got to move out of France, right, to La Liga, because La Liga has historically in the last years been the best league, but you never know. In 5 years' time, if he's still at PSG, let's pick a few. Let's say, I don't know, João Felix moves to Marseille for some reason, and Alphonso Davies is at Lyon. And who's another? I don't know. De Ligt has gone to PSG as well. Let's say that suddenly Liga has all the stars. Le Classique in France is the biggest game in the world and not El Clasico. Then, if Mbappe was to go to, by that time, let's say Barcelona are killing La Liga, and there's not really many other. Atletico are a bit shitty. Same with Real Madrid. You never know. Like, this is the thing, and I think that Ronaldo moving there at the time that he did, and that Messi Ronaldo thing completely drove La Liga's value up. Completely. Yeah. And it shows that they were doing it in the best league, whereas the same thing can happen to Mbappe. Look, if Mbappe, for whatever reason, moved to Dortmund, right, I'd say that Dortmund-Bayern would be the biggest game in world football.
Yeah.
With the biggest stars. Even better, if he moved to Inter Milan, and it was Mbappe against Ronaldo for Inter Juve, that would be the biggest game in world football because of the stars. So, obviously, there's history between El Clasico and Man United, Liverpool, stuff like that. But yeah, I think, who knows? He'll still be a success, regardless. That one went on a bit.
But
that was a great question, as you could tell.
Yeah.
All right, it's you up next. Sorry.
So this is from Angelina. So, if Mane or Salah were to leave Liverpool in the summer, who do you think Liverpool should sign to fill the void? Personally, I think it should be Watford. Ismaila Sarr, sorry if I said that wrong. He is insane with pace and good finishing, has good finishing for a young man. The cost shouldn't be outrageous as well.
I disagree. I think that everyone went absolutely mental. If Ismaila Sarr didn't score that goal against Liverpool, there's no way that anyone would be talking about him to replace these two. He's had a good season, Sarr. You know, he's done well since joining from Rennes, I believe it was. You know, certainly I think Arsenal are interested in him. He cost a lot, but he's certainly going to be a good winger in the future. There is no doubt in my mind that he is nowhere near the level of Mane or Salah. Ismaila Sarr, if he didn't score that goal against Liverpool, would you say he's got good finishing? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, a quick Google check here, which is obviously not the be all and end all when it comes to stats. But I mean, yeah, this season, how many goals has he got in the Premier League for Watford? 5. I mean, you know, it's hardly to say he is an unbelievable signing. But I don't think Mane or Salah would leave if they were.
No, I think especially the way that this season has gone, whether the Premier League restarts or not, I think they will want to have, you know, if Liverpool are crown champions or not, I think they're going to want another season, maybe having another go at the Champions League with Liverpool and getting another, if they get the Premier League title or not, getting a Premier League title next season again. Maybe then one of them might move on, but I don't know.
I can't see it happening. Who should they sign to the void? Maybe Werner. I think Werner would be a good player. Would be brilliant.
Hard one.
Liverpool's system really well. There's not many others. That's the problem. When you're the best, it's very difficult to replace the best. How do you replace, you know, two of the best wingers in world football? Thankfully, we're not in that position. But a good question. Right, VJ Rashil next up. In which areas do you think Real need to strengthen in the next transfer window? Do you think they need to get a new striker like Haaland or give Jovic another chance? And do you think they need to bring back players on loan such as Odegaard and Hakimi?
Odegaard, I can see them bringing back because he's had 3 loan spells. So I think it's time to kind of make a bit of a decision with that. Hakimi, I can maybe see, I mean, depending on his personal preference, I can see them putting him on loan again, maybe. I think defensively, maybe not necessarily in this transfer window, but I think they're going to have to start looking at a Ramos replacement because he's, early 30s. He's back and forth with the club falling out with him. 1 minute he loves Real Madrid, then he's having issues. And I think a partner for Varane, I think, is important. I think they're going to need to start looking for that.
And Militao hasn't been the most convincing.
Yeah, midfield, they need to have a massive clear out, I think. Modric, Rodriguez, all need to go. I think they need to kind of refine what they've got a little bit. And I think with the forwards, I think Jovic I think we just need to call it a day because it's just been a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, I feel like
his attitude doesn't seem great.
Yeah, we spoke about this before with the whole midfield thing. They've got the future sorted in midfield and attack. Yeah. I think 1 or 2 defenders look at the future. Yeah, it's getting rid of deadwood that Real need to do. I will say we did speak about this. I think last week or the week before. So thank you so much for your question, VJ, but make sure you watch the other videos as well, because otherwise we'll go around repeating ourselves. It's next up for you.
So this is from Johnny Nick. If Bayern are to sign Upamecano and Sane, do you think they would have the best front 3 and centre-back pairing in Europe?
So we're going with the front 3 of Sane, Lewandowski and Gnabry, I'm assuming. Yes, that'd be up there with Liverpool's front 3, PSG's front 3. Potentially Manchester City's. There's no doubt about that. Unbelievable players. Upamecano and... Oh, hold on. My earpiece has fallen out. Upamecano and Sula, I'm guessing. Maybe Pavard, Hernandez. Yeah, there'd be 4 unbelievable centre-backs. As for the best in Europe? Yeah, maybe, actually. Yeah, potentially. Right, Nike Jr. next up. Is Mourinho having a bad time as manager? Or is he finished at the top level?
You know what? I've always been a Mourinho fan. I always like to see respect put on his name for what he's done. And I think, especially with the English media, but I think he gets a lot of stick. And I think sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he deserves it, sometimes he doesn't.
Yeah.
I think the modern game's just kind of left him behind a little bit. I think his Bible that he created maybe isn't working as much anymore. I think his tactics are a little bit out of sync with everyone else. You know, we've got this whole, he seems to just kind of favour a strong defence parking the bus over maybe investing in more of a forceful attack sometimes, which I think, especially when we was watching as a United fan, it was frustrating. Don't know, I feel a little bit sorry for him sometimes, but then he kind of doesn't help himself. He was kind of, you know, he used to be, you know, kind of taking players under his wing, being arrogant still in front of the press, but he seems like a kind of nice guy, whereas now it's getting a little bit throwing players under the bus a little bit, which I think as a manager, I think you should, I understand that sometimes you need to maybe out someone, but I think when you're outing young players in the media, it's not going to help anyone. Do you know what I mean? Do it behind closed doors.
I personally think that Mourinho gets a bad rep now because of what happened at United. Yeah. And it's kind of like the funny thing, the scapegoat, you know, everyone laugh at Mourinho, this and that. Realistically, no one has a clue what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, he's hired a new assistant manager. And, you know, that team Jose Mourinho of all his coaches could be working on something new. I think, you know, it would appear, need to stay relevant in the game. Whether he has the players to do so, that's another question at Spurs. You know, I always try, at least, to stick on the side of managers because no one has a clue what they're doing. You know, and if
what they're up against.
Yeah, what they're up against. Put it this way, if Kane decides to not get injured, goes in an unbelievable scoring form, Mourinho's hailed as the saviour. When really, Kane's the one putting the ball in the back of the net because he's actually on the pitch to do so. I mean, you know what I mean? There's so many small discrepancies in football which seem to be so easily ignored that I just think, you never know. Look, I mean, Jose Mourinho's still at the top of football. He's one of the biggest clubs in England, a top 6 side. You know, almost 20 years into a managerial career. So he can't be doing that bad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's on the way down. He's maybe just at a lower level than he was before.
I think he just needs a little bit of a rejuvenation. Yeah.
And who knows?
Then I think
that might come in the transfer window.
Who knows?
It, but it might be.
Right, okay. I am up next. So this is from Sidipta Mukherjee. So who should Chelsea buy to replace Pedro and Willian?
Nobody. I
thought this.
I thought that Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi are pretty good replacements. Mason Mount in the middle behind Tammy Abraham. That seems to be the future of Chelsea. Let's talk about them getting Sancho. They're not going to get Sancho. If Sancho's leaving the club for whatever reason, United will be sniffing around.
Yeah.
United will be, stupid enough sounds a bit harsh, but it's true, would pay more, have a bigger wage structure than Chelsea first off, would pay more than Chelsea would pay Dortmund more than Chelsea would. If Sancho's going for that lower money, that, you know, then lots of clubs will be interested. And if he's going for a ridiculously high amount, Chelsea won't pay it. So everyone's saying, oh, he's friends with so-and-so and he likes Chelsea. Nah, nonsense. Sancho's not ending up at Chelsea.
I think Chelsea are good, though. I think it's an exciting time.
Yeah, without him, they're fine. I mean, Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic to replace the older legs of Willian and Pedro, great. Sounds brilliant. Sancho's not going there. Makes me sound really harsh. This is like in January.
Crushing Chelsea fans.
Me and Paddy had a discussion was it January? No, last January. We had a bet when they signed Christian Pulisic and then loaned him back to Dortmund, and everyone was like, no. He's not a Hazard replacement. Hazard's staying because Hazard's left wing and Pulisic's right. And I was like, Chelsea fans. Don't get me wrong. I know what it's like when you lose your best player, and I desperately don't want Spurs to lose any of their best players. But if Pulisic isn't a Hazard replacement, my word, I don't know who is. And obviously he did leave in the summer. But yeah, holding out for that false hope was a little bit naive from Chelsea fans. Sorry. Next up, Optimus Prima. Out of all the young and upcoming players you've seen play, who has disappointed you the most because of things like lack of effort, laziness, partying too hard, focusing too much on outside interests? I have some issues with this question, but I'll let you answer first.
I think for me, that again, United fan, the name that springs to mind is Ravel Morrison. I think that's probably one of the most disappointing. And it's like, listen, being from Manchester, you hear stories, you read things in the newspapers, which, take with a pinch of salt. You hear a lot of stuff. What actually went on, we're never going to know.
Exactly.
You can say that people are lazy or they're partying too hard or blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of that is kind of subjective. And I think a lot of people are about to say, oh, someone's partying too hard or something because they're having a bit of like a break in the summer, which everyone is, deserving of. And yeah, but I think Ravel Morrison probably the most disappointing just because there were such high hopes. And I think for United fans, when you see Sir Alex Ferguson, I mean, I don't know, he said it about Lingard, Jones, so maybe some of the things he said hasn't always been 100%, but you could tell he was backing this kid all the way. I think he would have been amazing for England. Obviously, he's playing for Jamaica. I think he would have been amazing. I know that he's had a little bit of a comeback. He went over to Italy, had a bit of a comeback with Sheffield.
Yeah.
So maybe, who knows, but I think whatever happened, we're never going to know, but it was disappointing because I think everyone around the country had such massive high hopes for him.
Yeah, everyone was, even now there's like interviews of United players and they're all like, Ravel Morrison was different class.
Yeah.
He was the best. It must be so annoying.
Like because he was, like a similar era of like Lingard and Pogba and stuff, and they all still say like he was the most amazing. I remember watching like the youth games and stuff like that, and he was always stand out.
Yeah, this question, I think this is the thing as well that people have to remember. It's so easy for the media, like you said, to just poke holes and everything. Oh, he's lazy, lack of effort. I mean, how would people know? How could you possibly know what goes on behind the closed doors? Like, you know, footballer's life, especially when you've got that much pressure and money and fame at a young age, can be very complicated. And I think it's too easy to swing the bat of laziness, party too hard, this and that. Some guys maybe just aren't as good as they get older, or, for whatever reason, injury, confidence, things just fall apart. I think it's far too easy to fall into the trap of, oh, he loved the money and party and then he became bad. There's plenty of top-level footballers who love to party and love loads of money now, and they're doing absolutely fine. The young and upcoming players, certainly from what I've heard of distractions, again, like I've just said, don't know whether it's true or not, Dele Alli is the one that annoys me. His level of performance leading up to the World Cup was astonishing. For what he was doing was so good, and now he looks a little bit, he does on the pitch, it looks a little bit lethargic at times, doesn't quite look his same motivated self. Of course, there could be so much more going on behind the scenes, whether he gets on with Mourinho or not, this and that. But yeah, if I was to swing that unfair, cruel bat at somebody, it may be Dele Alli.
Yeah.
But I still think he could come good.
Yes, fingers crossed. Okay, next question. This is from Aryan Katyanan. So, quick fire for Matt. Ozil or De Bruyne?
De Bruyne.
Ramos or Van Dijk?
Ramos.
Rooney or Beckham?
Ooh, Beckham. This is just my favourite.
Cruz or Bruno?
Cruz.
Suarez or Kane?
Kane.
Neuer or Oblak?
Oblak.
Neymar or Mbappe?
Ooh. That's a tough one. I like both of them. I'm going to say Mbappe. Only just. I just think he's phenomenal. Right, next up, Jack Hyatt said, who comes to mind when I say most naturally gifted?
Okay, I'm going off kind of players from all ages. And again, just a name that I have read a lot with United, I'd probably go with George Best.
Ooh, yeah.
There's a lot of interviews that I've read where they've obviously I'm not that old that I was watching him play. But when you watch things back and you listen to interviews and read up on it and stuff, that's who I'd go.
That's a good one.
One.
I know this is yours.
One
but...
second.
Oh.
1 second, my earphones have gone.
I'm going to throw in there very quickly, if anyone's ever heard of him, research, it's brilliant. Magico Gonzalez. He was like in the same era as George Best, and I think Maradona said, like, don't ask me about being the best player in the world. There's a guy in Cadiz called Magico Gonzalez. It's a bizarre story, actually, of someone talking about fame and stuff like that, who was the most talented player and just loved partying instead. Right, I've overtaken your question. Players who revolutionised their position.
Maybe Thomas Müller, I would say. Yeah.
Most versatile.
Again, United fan, probably Wayne Rooney. Striker, number 10, having to get involved in the midfield sometimes. Wing, yeah, I'd go with Rooney.
Most hardworking.
I would probably say Ronaldo, just because I feel like,
yeah.
I mean, you don't know, but like he does like 5 million sit-ups a day, and you can just tell that he has like a
ethic.
His work ethic, crazy. And you just know he has like a chef, like a breakfast chef, a lunch chef, and a dinner chef, I feel like.
The GOAT. Oh.
I'm not going to get involved in drama here. I'm just going to go. Yeah, I'm just going to go for a personal favourite in Zidane. I would just go with, yeah.
Good swerve in the Ronaldo drama. Or Messi fan clubs. The funniest footballer.
Just for social media, Patrice Evra, because I just think he's crazy. He's pretty hilarious.
That chicken shit was crazy. Yeah. Most likely to be a superb villain or superhero.
Villain, Joey Barton, 100%.
Oh my God, yes. What a great pick. God, what a nutter.
And I think superhero, just because I think he's super likeable, Juan Mata. I think he'd just be really nice, wanting to help people. Yeah. Yeah, that's
very nice.
Good. Right, okay, next question. High as prices, I think.
High gas prices.
High gas prices.
What? Honestly, where do people come up with these names?
I can't even read them. Oh, right. Who is your club's one that got away? Oh.
Do you mean, I'm guessing they're referring to a Sancho leaving Man City situation?
Or is it somebody that you maybe were going to sign and didn't sign?
Oh, that didn't sign. Well.
I don't know. Whichever you prefer.
The thing is with Spurs, they haven't produced a crazy amount of talents that they've lost and then that have gone on to be successful elsewhere. Like Modric and Bale, yes, the ones that got away, but they were always going to leave for Real Madrid, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
And they were already good at Spurs. There is no one really in that sort of Sancho frame. I can't think of anyone who's left the Spurs academy then gone on to be a world beater elsewhere. Maybe they just don't produce as many as others. Funnily enough, Arsenal's is Harry Kane, because they actually let him go as like a 9-year-old, which I find quite amusing every time he scores against them. In terms of a transfer, it's difficult to know how close you were to signing someone. So there was lots of rumours that Spurs were close to signing Dybala last summer, which is, oh my God, one that got away. Would have been extraordinary. They also had Willian pretty much in the bag. He did a medical at Spurs, was in London, and then Roman Abramovich rang him up. Was like, nah, come to Chelsea instead. And the Spurs fans haven't quite forgiven him. So he was definitely one that got away. Apart from the other one, this is years ago, 2003 or something, Samuel Eto'o was at Mallorca.
Ooh.
He had a good 6 months and Spurs were trying to sign him from Mallorca. Didn't happen for whatever reason. A year and a half later, he had a phenomenal season at Mallorca, then moved to Barcelona, and then, Samuel Eto'o and Barcelona's a love story. So yeah, that could have been different. Probably could have been more different for Eto'o than it could for Spurs' history. But there you go. Right, next up, Josh Hulden has said, do you feel as if there is any chance of Ronaldo or Messi winning another Ballon d'Or? Do you think they're past it?
I think there's definitely a chance of them winning it. Would I like to see other people winning it? 100%, because I just feel like the whole Messi-Ronaldo battle, I'm not even going to get into, but I just feel like they've both won it. They have both enjoyed being at the top of their game. Not saying that they're not still top of their game, but I just think the amount of years that this has gone on for, I just think it would be nice to start recognising, because it's like, you know, how long are you going to go? Are you just going to miss like a giant, like 5-year chunk of really great players because you've got to go with Messi and Ronaldo even as they're getting older? No, I think they could still win it. Probably will still win 1 or 2 more maybe between them. But I think it's time to maybe start looking at like players that are still just as good, but don't have that last name, because I mean they've won enough. They're happy,
That's the thing. I feel like Ronaldo's never going to win it again unless Juventus win the Champions League, and you know he's the prime catalyst for it. I feel like with Ronaldo, as much as I love him, he stepped out of the bubble. This La Liga, Barca, Real, you know, 2 big superpowers. Ronaldo, Messi, the left foot, the right foot, the constant battle against each other. Who's going to win Champions League? Who's going to win La Liga? The fight was there, and it was easier to basically pick one of those 2. It was easier for people to just pick whichever one did better that season.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened. And now Ronaldo stepped out Juventus. He's always going to have this. He's not really playing against anyone serious. Juve are winning all the time, blah, blah, blah. I feel like he's, you know, through no fault of his own, and he shouldn't care about the Ballon d'Or because, you know, as we say, it's an individual trophy in a team sport, so it shouldn't matter. But I don't think he'll win it again, whereas Messi, staying with Barca, in the limelight, in the biggest league. Whichever one of them wins the Champions League, they've got a case for it, but I think we're coming to the end of those 2.
Yeah.
Next up is you.
Okay, so this is from Sean Witten. Pick 3 players, past and present, that you would like to spend quarantine with.
God damn.
That's a hard one.
One of them would be Paul Gascoigne, because he'd be such a laugh. He'd have so many great stories.
Yeah, that's true.
As long as he's in good health, for sure. Yeah. Super funny guy, Paul Gascoigne. Who are the others? I'd pick Ronaldo just so I could do his workouts with him and stay in great shape.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm not sure I could manage 5,000 sit-ups a day, but you know, it'd be good to have someone motivating around like Ronaldo. And lastly but not least, someone who's entertaining.
That's going to give you a few laughs, keep the
Actually,
good times
Gaz is the
rolling,
entertaining one. Someone quite intellectual. Someone like Xavi Alonso. Seems like a very smart guy, very cool guy. Or Andrea Pirlo as well.
Good shout. I don't know who I'd have.
Who you'd pick?
I would probably have Paul Scholes, because I feel like he's so quiet, but I feel like he would have like some good stories if you got in like a chilled setting. I would probably have Pepe, because I think like the amount of stories that he'd have about like red cards and like. God,
Pepe would be nuts.
Yeah, I just feel like he'd be like a little like energy ball, just like running around, keeping everyone on the toes. And I would probably go with Evra, like I mentioned before, because I just think he'd have everyone up in the morning, getting everyone motivated, good vibes and stuff, and he'd like have a few jokes. He'd make us all like dress up in like panda suits or whatever.
Before Pepe 2-foots him while he's making coffee.
Exactly.
Right, last one. 5VG5 has said, what's your favourite TV show?
Friends. Gotta be Friends. Friends. It's hard. It's hard, but difficult. I would probably say Friends, yeah.
I might have to agree.
What about you?
Yeah, I would say Friends. I know we both like Family Guy as well.
We do, yeah.
Friends is an excellent one from back in the day. Something you can watch over and over again.
And you can have it on in the background as well. Recently,
Afterlife is really good, the Ricky Gervais one.
Yes, I've heard good things about that.
Big fan of that one. I can't even think of anything. I don't watch too many series. I've never watched like Game of Thrones or House of Cards or any. I just can't get into something. Every like Game of Thrones episode was like a film. And
it's a commitment as well. That is a serious.
And now you're like, how many seasons was it? 6, 7?
Something like that.
Oh, geez.
It's too much.
Way too much. Anyway, thank you so much for all of your questions. As we mentioned, every Wednesday night in the community tab is where you can leave your question for the Friday's Q&A. Massive thanks to everyone for writing in. Make sure, by the way, you do watch the previous week's episode and that you don't ask the same question, because your question might have already been answered. Then you can write a new one. So then technically you've got 2 answered from myself and Angelina. Until next time, see you guys later.